So welcome to Bunny's Designs. This is a live stream with live people. I'm having a natter in the chat. I'm going to try gouache in a colour book with very thin pages. So this is a pretend. This is a practice, and I'm going to use the back page. So if I make a mess of it, then it's fine. Oh, hi Suzanne. Welcome to Bunny's Designs. Alfie's been a bad puppy. Oh, he's disappeared. He's been a bad puppy all day. So get your fly swat. He's been a bad boy. Yeah, so we normally have an alpha cam at the end, but if you're on the live streams, we normally have to have an alpha cam, even if it's just for Suzanne to have Alfie fix. Alfie is the naughty King Charles Spaniel that we rescued, and he's as cute as cucumbers. He's cute, but he's such a bad boy. I took some photographs of him because I'm going to do a colouring. I think I might try and do a colouring thing with him, and I was going through the photographs, and they're obviously on Facebook, and I thought I'll go through them, and I will read Snapchat. I will on a phone. Sometimes you can take the photograph again, so they're at the top of your photographs and not miles behind. Because I have thousands of photographs on my 64 gig. So I was taking photographs. I'll wind them up a bit so you can see. And I felt guilty because I put my younger daughters, and I didn't put my eldest daughter. And of course, Thumper, who's Bunny's Designs. So this is purely, these are Alfie photographs. Now, normally you get one or two cute boys. Every single one. How cute am I? How cute am I? How cute am I? I'm just that cute. Look at that. I'm just that. I'm going to paint that one, I think. But every single one is cute boy. Oh, apart from that, that's my girls. And there's 33. 33. How cute am I? This is the minute I stand up or move. This is what he does. Me draw. Me draw. Me draw. Mummy, me draw. But this is the cute album. Every single photograph of Alfie is Mr. Cute Pants. In fact, I'm running out of cuteness. Just Mr. Cute. Which is my best side? Oh, that was the bat. So we went to the bunnies. But there were 35 cute photographs. And I thought, you can't get any more. You just cannot get any more cuteness. So we've definitely got a lot to go on with Mr. Cute Boy. And this particular one is the day we got him at Christmas. He's on the bed, you see. Dogs aren't allowed on the bed. Yeah, okay. This is Mr. Cute Boy. And this is when we got him. He put his Christmas thing on, and he used to hide behind me on the sofa. And that's when I got the picture of this one, and I love that one. So I'm going to try and paint that one. He's got his Christmas jumper on, which he cannot get in now. He cannot get into. This is what he was like when we first got him, hiding behind me. And then he got a bit braver, and everybody was taking selfies with him. So he's a bit of a cute boy, and I think he's turned into a bit of a celebrity. So sorry about that. We had to have an Alfie moment, especially for Suzanne. So welcome to Bunny's Designs. This is an art show. I'm going to be playing with my gouache, and in here is a mixture of, this is a Stay Wet palette, and they're about £15, but it has a magic trick. It has a double palette that folds out. So you've got twice as much space for colouring, so that's pretty good. I don't know why that's a bit ick at the end, but there again. So these were squeezed out at exactly the same time, and some are hard and some are squidgy. Very squidgy, in fact, because some of these are really cheap ones and some are not. Oh, hi Terry, welcome to Bunny's Designs. Anybody else that's popping in? So this, I wanted something that I could fold up, but gouache when it dries cracks. So I have bought a bigger one, and my intention is to use the pans for this particular set. So I've got all this space here, I've got space for a pen, and I'm going to fill these little half pan plastic boxes when I've used the colour from inside for my giveaway. I will have 44 pans that I'm going to mix the colours with my gouache, and I'm going to fill these pans. So I won't have to do a lot of mixing, but I'm going to have a lot of colours for my colour books, and then this is going to be like a to-go. I can take it with me because I'm quite into my gouache at the moment. I'd forgotten how wonderful it was. It's almost 40 years since I've been at college, and I forgot we used it in graphics for a lot of things. It dries very flat. It's very kind of Disney, very anime. It's really really nice, and I loved it in my dragon that I've been doing in the Kirby Roseanne. So I thought I would use it in this one, but I wanted to show the different palettes. So these are cheapy ones, and these are a mixture of the cheap ones and the other ones. Oh, sorry, bark alert. I don't know why he's barking because he's been a bad boy. So I'm actually going to play with these. I don't know what they're going to do, but I'm going to play with these wet ones. So this is just like you've squeezed it out of the tube, and I'm going to use um, this to start with and see how we go. But I might have to revert to this one as well. But the beauty of that is it does have both. So it's always a good idea to keep it on paper though, because things can make a mess. And this is my practice colours. Always practice my colour before I put it on my page, because it's not a work of art, but I want to make a decent job of it. I don't want to make a mess. So that's probably why. And this is a gorgeous book, and I haven't played in it yet, so I thought I'd do that with the gouache. But what I'm going to do is work backwards. So if I go through or spoil, it's quite thin paper, but it feels like photocopy paper. So as long as I keep a damp brush, I should be fine. And I've just realised my daughter did not make me a cup of coffee, bless her, but never mind. So what I'm going to do is work backwards. So I've got my reference, and that's the word I was looking for earlier. So I have my colour reference and I have my drawing. So you could use markers or felt pens, as long as you put something behind here to protect behind. It will go through and it will completely trash the page, but you've got your reference. And then if you wanted to do the same thing, use your reference, colour your page. The back of this page will be trashed, but it's fine because you've already used it. And obviously every time keep putting a paper in here to protect what you've just done. Whereas if you worked from front to back and you wanted to colour this page in, you would use that as a reference and you would trash the back page. So when you came to do this one, you wouldn't be able to see this. So if you wanted to use markers or something that would deface the back and go through, you can do, but work backwards. So I hope that wasn't as clear as mud. Sorry, apologies in advance. My little monster is having a bark. Sorry. Come on, Suzanne, get the fly swat out. He's such a noisy, nosy boy. Alfie, that's not going to be good. Under here, please. Under there. He knows when he goes under. Like, under there. Thank you. Thank you, Alfie. Sit down. There's a good boy. It's a shame we don't have any music on, because he wouldn't see things outside then. Oh, thank you for my cup of coffee. Thank you, Suzanne. 2 sugars. I don't supposed to have sugar, but hubby doesn't put sugar in, but I do. So I'm not going to bother with the background because I know this page is not going to do background. I know that. So what I want to do is I'm just going to do the caterpillars, and so I'm going to work fairly dry. In my paintbrush route this morning, I found almost a full range of my Art Master Pearl Series 11, and they're the ones that have the fat brushes with the pointy ends. And I was using number 6, and I fell in love with it, and I'll put it somewhere. Let's see if I can find it very quickly. I'm not sure where I've put it, and I'm not sure why I took it out, but I did use the number 6 brush. It's kind of disappeared. We have gremlins around here. We do have gremlins. There it is, number 6. Oh no, that's the round one. I seem to have lost the only brush that I use. But never mind, I'll have to use the bigger one. Did I put it in here? No, I must have put it in the other one then. Oh, disaster. So I bought this one because I needed another one, and they sent me the wrong size. They sent me the big pans instead of the 45. But this is a really good set with all those colours. And I am completely mortified and lost that the paintbrush has completely disappeared. Because I don't have any recollection of where I would have put it. We do have a live stream gremlin. We have a live stream gremlin somewhere. Can't imagine why I would put it anywhere where I would use it. There it is. It's looking at me. It's a silly thing to do. So this one actually fits in there. So somewhere along the line, I've not used them. I've actually bought. They wouldn't have been in a set as such. I would have bought them individually, I think. So I bought these, and then I found these. So it's always a good idea to have a good route. So I haven't done this before, so it's going to be a practice. So I've got my colours, I've got a spare piece to kind of jiggle about a bit on, and I've got the colours there. I think I'm going to put this on there. You always need a white. It's always a good idea, I'll rephrase that. It's always a good idea for whatever palette you have, it has a white background, because you can see your colours. Now some people don't like that. Some people like a darker background. Some artists that always start with a yellow ochre or a burnt sienna background always have the same colour palettes because you can see the colours. So actually maybe you shouldn't have a white one, but for watercolours I normally do, and gouache. But if you oil paints, you could have a darker one. I say some artists actually paint their palettes the colour that they always start with on their backgrounds, not their backgrounds, sorry, their colours on their palettes. Sorry, I've had to let him go. So I'm going to move my water as well because it doesn't want to be there. So I've got a piece of kitchen paper, and I'm going to get out a baby wipe, but it's actually not a baby wipe. It's a face wipe that I've put back into this little pot. because be- uh, before I go to sleep and before I get out of bed, I always wipe my face with a baby wipe and I apply face cream. And I've been doing it since I was first married. My first mum-in-law, my ex-mum-in-law, used oil of Ulay, and so I've always done it. So you see, that did not like that drop of water, so we might get into trouble. It doesn't like water, but we'll have a go. We'll have a go. So I'm trying to get it so you can see everything I'm doing, which is going to be a bit difficult, but maybe that might be. So I have to zoom in anyway in a second. So if you trap your kitchen roll and your baby wipe under, when you're twisting, it's not going to move. It's always going to stay still. But if you put the stay wet onto your page, it will make it wet. Now I've got a funny feeling this is not going to work because it didn't like this drop. So if we have a quick look on here, oh, it didn't go through, but it went through on this side. So this paper might disintegrate. So we'll have a go, but we'll have a go. So we've got a pink belly on this caterpillar. So the nicest thing about the gouache is you can work a little bit better. So I'm just going to zoom in and you can see the caterpillar. I'll do the first bit and then I'll zoom in. So I've got a caterpillar and he's got a bit of a pink belly. So I can't actually remember if this is mixable. Here I've got colour. And I can't remember. I think that's the mixable one. I can't remember. So I'm not going to bother about whether it's mixable or not. One's more expensive and the other one isn't. But I'm using it fairly loosely, and although it's watered down, I'm not going to be, and I've got to make sure that, you see, I'm watering it down to milk. Always wash your brush, always clean it, then leave it damp with the damp baby wipe. And that makes sure that it's going to be clean before you go into a colour. You will know that that's going to be clean. And I have used these baby wipes before. It's not that dirty. It's not off my face. Just thought I'd tell you. But I was thinking that I was throwing them away, and then I was using packs and packs of baby wipes. So I decided that it was for my brush. And it's got essence of me on it, but it's not got much. So that looks a little bit pinky to me. In fact, I might do the red one. Oh, I could do the cream one. That one looks like yellow ochre. And if you start on the end, you can play. And it's obviously too dark. So I need to mix at this end. And I think that's actually quite near. Now this is almost, it's a barely damp brush, is this. Twisting all that colour out. There's barely anything on there. And when you, that's dry. That's just how quick it is. The minute you've done it, it's dried. So that's how you need it. Thank you, Suzanne. Suzanne said the swat's there. That's good. And it dries really quickly. It's drying already on here. But this is the consistency you need if you want to keep it completely flat. And you can do this on photocopy paper. Now I'm actually going to try it in my Bible pages because I haven't done any Bible studying for a while because I've been so kind of busy, which is no excuse. But now I've found this magic gouache, I'm going to do more Bible journaling because I've learnt I can get a nice effect. So I think that top one there is going to be this colour. And the good thing about gouache is you don't have to, but I'm working light to dark. But you don't have to with gouache, but I am, because I want to. This is the way I've decided, and I must say, you do not use gouache in a traditional way like this. This is a practice. This is just having a go. This is taking a water medium and trying it in a colour book. It's not how you would traditionally use the gouache. Now, when I get back to my art, which after tomorrow might be better, I will be doing a proper gouache series, and they will be completely different. And you do not use that gouache on a colour page because it will trash it. Um, so let me just see if, oh sorry, apologies. Let's see if we can just sharpen that up a little bit. So I'm not all zoomed in, but it's actually quite a big thing. So now I want a pink. But what I was going to say, if these two colours, that was too dark, that was too light, you then take a little bit and put it back into here. And really I should have left that white. So you end up with two colours and you can mix and match until you get the right colour. And you haven't wasted a lot of it. That's what I was going to do, but actually I hit it probably almost perfect, so that was a bit easier. But when I come to the chrysalis on this page, I want to be a little bit darker. So again, instead of getting another colour, I'm going to alter this slightly, and I think this is pure yellow ochre, and I'm going to alter it slightly, add to it to make another colour on this page, and so this page is going to have some continuity. Oh, Suzanne says she loves she loves that. Yeah. So I'm going to have a pink now. So again, I've got to wash my brush out, which breaks my heart a little bit. But hey ho, I can't always be that yeah, tight Yorkshire lass all the time. So I'm going to put this up here. And again, that's gouache. And that's probably the consistency you normally use it. I'm going to do it again. But the beauty of this is you've got all this colour. You just need a damp brush to activate it. And you don't want to dip into there because again this is opaque, so this white is going to ruin any red. Anything I put this in, it will contaminate it, and I don't want to do that. So you can do two things. You can mix with one brush and have your other brush ready for, and your brush will last you twice as long, or for ease just kind of dib in a bit. So I'm going to go in this really pinky pink one up here, and the tiniest bit, you can almost barely see it because it's not, and I think that's the pink. I don't think I want to go any pinky. I think it is slightly darker, but I don't want to go any darker. I don't want to go any darker. Now, because this is, and that's dry, that's just how damp this brush is, barely damp. And what that is doing is enabling you to put watercolour on a paper that's very thin, so it hasn't gone through. If I used watercolour, it probably would because I'm rubbing. But because this is opaque and it's going on, it feels just like a marker. You have that lovely flow of colour, a continuous flow of permanent colour, and it's such a nice, but the minute it's gone on, it's dried. Now watercolour doesn't do that. You need a lot more water to go in that, and that's where you ruin your page. So gouache works blooming good on a paper. So we want some little feet. Now they've left them white. There's some grey in there. So again, I've got a black, but I'm going to take a brown, and this looks like not Van Dyke Bright. What's the dark one? Raw umber, very dark. Oops. So water, and you find a lot of browns don't like to mix, so you might have to give it a bit of welly. And this is why you use all your brush. But I'm not ramming it up there because that will damage the brush. So this is just a very watery umber, but it's brown and we don't want brown, I want grey. So I'm going to put a touch of French ultramarine in it. And that was too much. So now I have a beautiful blue grey, and I would say that this is indigo. It's a very dark blue. So I've just made indigo, but I don't want indigo. I want, oh, actually, it mainly looks like a Payne's grey, does that? It does look like a Payne's grey. It's a blue grey. If I just put a touch more brown back into there, and it may take 2 or 3 times for this. I would think Payne's grey is not quite, is a grey, is a blue grey. So that's now a brown, but that's a Van Dyke brown. That's a very dark, cold brown. Oopsie. It would help if I was in frame, wouldn't it? So now I've made a darker brown. So again, a touch of, and sometimes you might have to do this 3 or 4 times. This is why it's a good idea to put them here and mix in the middle. So that's getting a bit warmer. That's a very dark black brown, but I want a black. So I've put blue and I've put brown. Actually, I tell a lie. I'm going to do something completely different. I'm going to put a dollop of French ultramarine here. And I'm going to put a dollop of red there. And if you're using a different colour, what you need to do is you need to wash your brush out, dry it, put it in clean water. So you need 2 buckets when you use most things. It's only when I'm doing with a rigger that I don't bother, because I'm using every scrap. But now I'm not using every scrap, I'm leaving colour on here. So you need 2 buckets, one to clean and then one clean to use to colour mix. So here I'm now going to put a yellow. Oops, and it's an orangey yellow, but it doesn't matter. So in the middle here, I'm going to start here. So I've got green here and I've got orange there. And then I've got a brown. I'm going to keep going. So I've got brown. And I've got like a greeny brown. Now I've got a red. I've got a reddy brown. Still got green. So that's brown. So a bit more blue in there. And that's still brown. It's not very so I've got a very dark green and I've got a very dark orangey reddy brown. So you see what gorgeous what gorgeous colours I'm getting by mixing these together. And then if I put a touch of brown in there, depending on what I've got most, that's very brown. So a touch more blue. Still just that. Oops, wrong way. It's still a very dark brown. Probably that's not the best blue. That's probably the best blue. So now I've got a blue. Oh, thank you, darling. And now I've got a. Oops. I've got a kind of a bluey grey dark. So all these darks are fantastic. Now that's almost a neutral grey. That one's a neutral grey. So it took up. So you can have your browns, your dark greys, your dark browns, your dark blues, and that one's almost. It's not reddy. It's not yellowy. It's not greeny. It's not bluey. So that's obviously a pure grey. And let's have a test. Take it all the way. I've got a bit of yellow on there, but if you take it all the way, you've got nothing but greys. So you've made almost black. If you made it thicker, it would be black. That would go to black, that one. because you've got a neutral grey. A neutral grey will go to black. Now you might not want to mess about doing that, but what you have done in here is got some gorgeous dark browns, dark greens and dark blues, which you can get out of a tube, but you know, it's so much nicer if you didn't do that. So I quite like that one I've got, so but I am going to go for the smaller brush. And I did find a number series 11 number 2, which is a little fat one, but then when you twist it you get a really nice point right on the end. Oh, did you like that? I thought you might do. It's a long time. I've done a process with thingy, but when I do with ink printer inks, but if you do it with tomorrow, I'll probably start with doing a little bit of colour mixing, because all those really dark, horrible, grungy coloured books, they're all going to come out of 6 colours. My favourite 6. I don't even think I'm going to use the green. In fact, I'm not going to use the green. I'm not going to use the purple that I bought. That is the first purple I've ever bought. They came out in the 90s, and it's the first purple I have ever bought in all those years of using them since 1990. So I can get every colour I want from, and there's the cadmium orange. Now I was tempted to do the secondary colours because I bought them, and these are in the set that you get. But I decided I am going to do the colours will all come from French ultramarine, cerulean blue, lemon yellow, cadmium red, and Elysian crimson. Now I will throw the black and the white in there purely because they're there. But I probably won't use the black. I tell you what, I will use the brown. Although I've just made some nice browns, only because there's a lot of browns. So I probably use raw umber, black and white. But in watercolour, you don't use white, and you certainly don't use black. In watercolour and gouache, I wouldn't use any other colours but these. This is all you need. They actually come in. I probably use this for the background, I think, and white. I would use white in acrylics. I would use white in gouache, and I would use white in oil paints and water mixables. Hi Claudia, welcome to Bunny's Designs. So I've got to a bit smaller brush, a number 2, that I found in this set. So on here I've mixed quite a lot of greys and things. And I must admit, I think gouache is probably slightly nicer because it's a bit more opaque, so it's probably a bit easier to use. So in the middle here I have this kind of, it's not green, I would say it's almost a neutral grey. Now I've made it green, but in the middle here, and again I'm going to put it here because I want it watery. Oops, now I have to make sure that my brush is clean. I want it very watery. It's got to be like milk. I use gouache in a colour book, the consistency of milk. Everything else is normally the consistency of double cream. Yeah, and it's very pale is that. So I've watered it down, but I've got a really nice pale grey, so I can go in here. And if I want to go back in with darker, I can do that later. I'm just putting some little marks in here, and what you can now do, but I'm going to zoom in for this one. I think I'll probably do this particular page in 2, and again this is the difference between gouache. It's very quick because I want to put all the detail in, so I'm going to do kind of a flat colour, and then I'm going to go in with more detail on part 2. My daughter just made me a cup of tea, bless her. I had to look at it twice. I wasn't sure if it was a toffee. Now we've got some green leaves, but I'm not sure about the leaves yet, so I'm going to leave that. So there, that's what we've done so far. we've got a yellow. Now that will darken when I put all the little hairs on the back of the caterpillar. So here we've got a chrysalis, and it's got a bit of cad, a bit of orangey yellow to it. It's not a dark, but remember that we've got this colour here. You've got this colour here still going on, and that was probably too much. Oh no, I think I like that one. So again, I'm going to go all the way, and this is very flat. This is why it's used for designers, and it's designed to go flat, so that's really nice. And it's just, as I say, like having a marker, but of course we don't have all the fuss with the marker. Now that looks a bit white, and then that's there, so I can't take it out once I've put it in, but I can work from light to dark. And it's just a shade darker than that one. There seems to be just a tiny bit more orangey, but I can go back in there, and that was a little bit wetter because I went back in, but it's dried. So let's have a look at the back of the page. Yeah, there's nothing on the page whatsoever, so that's quite nice. So it should work on photocopy paper. So that means it will work on the Bennett Kleins if you print them out on ordinary photocopy paper. Am I not in frame? Sorry. I'm trying to get everything in, you see, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to fit everything in, and the book is in the way. So I'm going to do him next, and he's got the strangest pink. Almost like Alice in Wonderland's caterpillar. He looks like he's got his top hat on. So we've got a bit of pink up here that I was using, and that was a pinky red. So I'm going to just put, I'm going to go to my bit bigger brush. Make sure that it's clean, and make sure that it's damp, because this is wet paint, so I don't have to use a wet brush. If I was using it on the dry palette, then you probably would. So if I'm looking at that pink, it is actually a pinky pink, and I nearly have that colour here. So I'm going to pull that there. So it is a pale kind of a pink, but I'm going to put it into that white, because it's almost like a salmony pink. It's not a pinky pink, it's a salmony pink. So again, we'll just give a bit of a touch, and you can tell it's probably too pink, that. So I'm going to put a touch of this yellow, just a touch, and that's probably too much. But what that's done is I'm going to steal this piece of paper, so you can touch that there. If you put it on the end, and then you put it next to it, and then you put that next to there, and see if it disappears. If it disappears, you know it's right. Well, it doesn't, so I need a touch more. It needs to be a little bit stronger. So that almost disappears. It means I've got the right pink. Oh yes, I will do, Suzanne. I will do. I'm going to do that this afternoon. I'm going to film all my. I have one that I did for the Harry Potter book, that I was going to do in oils, and I actually made the palette, so it's going to be very similar. It's going to be very similar, but I will do that this afternoon and release it a bit later. So this is the little man we're doing here, and again the gouache will go just dead flat colour, and then the first one with a dot in it is green, so we can do that. And then we've kind of got these are kind of pink. You don't have to match the colours, you can just, you've got such an array of colours here. With the 6 colours you could make half a dozen and then just, which I'm going to show you how to do. And if you look at the, so that's what we've got so far. But if you look across, we have the pink of the little caterpillar here, and then this one is kind of a red, but it's an orangey red. It's a different pink. It's a different red. So we can do two things. We can put some yellow to it, and I've made an orange now. So I can go back and put the pink to it. So don't forget, pink and orange makes cad red. It doesn't make the actual cad red, it makes the cad red hue, I'll say, colour. Cad red is very expensive. But an orange and a yellow will make a cad red. A pinky red. So I think that's just that bit too kind of So I've actually got a red, so we'll have a look at that one. And that's far too strong. So I think just a touch of, in fact, yeah, just a touch. Just a touch of, see that's the same red, exactly the same red, and you wouldn't believe that reddy pink, that's had the tiniest bit of a cad orange. It's just a bit warmer than a cad orange, probably gamboge, but only a touch, and yet it's made a pinky red into a reddy red, a cold red, just a touch. And that means that if you only have alizarin crimson, you can make a cadmium red hue. And I'll just water that down a little bit more because I think that's not too far away. Oops, wrong one. So you could have a mixing one and then you could have a testing one. So test that next to it, and it's definitely too bright, is that? But it is not watery enough, so I'll test that again. Because of course adding water to it makes it lighter. But it will not alter the colour, it will just alter its opacity. So again, I'm just going to try the same amount in there because I think that might do it. But it's a peachy one, so I don't want to do it too much. I see that's too much now because I will lose my peach. So I might have to use a touch of white. Yeah, a touch of white is going to alter the shade. So the other thing I was going to go through is, and I don't want too much, it's far too much. That's the other thing you need to go through, is there's difference between shades and tones and hues, and I was going to go through those when I do my colour mixing. I just a tad of orange, I think. It just wants to be that little bit orangier. Sometimes it takes a while, you know, it's going to take a long time, but if you are colour mixing, then that's what you want. So that one looks fine. So I'm quite happy with that one. So I need to take a lot of that off, twist that off, because all that water there is going to damage the page if it gets anywhere near it. And if you can't do that, you're going to just have to waste it. But you want a bare amount, just a damp bit on there. So we'll come back to our little man, and I'm going to colour all of him in, and then the black goes, oh no I'm not, his belly's yellow. His belly's yellow, so we're going to colour that bit in. And I haven't done vivid bright colours because these are not vivid bright things, but when I draw my butterflies I will be using the gouache, and I will be using very vibrant colours. I'm just double checking that's actually black, so black will go over this red. So, and it's opaque is this, so it kind of, as I say, it glides on extremely well. It's well behaved and it's easy to do, which is always nice in a colour book. Because if it's too difficult, you won't want to sit and do it for hours. Whereas because it's quite nice and you can see things are happening, you know it's not going to take 100 years. So again, that's quite nice. Now, just checking on his tail, which is now it does need to be darkened up a little bit, but again, light to dark, remember, is probably the order of the day. Yes, I love gouache. Sazanne says she loves gouache. So what can I say? I think probably, Kenny, what I might do is when I start, the best thing to do is, I've done the canvas, it was on the roof and I forgot about it. It was on the shed roof drying yesterday. I think what I'll do for my paint along tomorrow is I will do the background, and I will mix the oils and do the background, and then while the background is drying I will set out my palette and mix the colours and and then we'll go into composition, and then we can take the colours a step further. So we'll end up with from those 6 colours we'll end up with probably about 8 to 10. So we'll have an orange, we'll have the secondary colours, which are orange, purple and green. I will then mix a light and a dark brown, and that will be the mix for those. And then we'll go back to see if it's dried. It may need another coat of background, and then we can take the colours a step further. And then I'm going to do a rough sketch about like this detail, and then I think we'll probably end up just getting a simple flat colour down of each book. So we'll match the colours of the pages and the spines, and probably that will take all day tomorrow, even with the mixable drying medium in the oil paints. The gouache is a mixture. It's my cheapy ones, and it's the children's ones, and it's my expensive ones. So there's Reeves in there, there's an essential one in there, and then there should be the ones that I've mixed here are Winsor Newton. So the ones that have behaved themselves are Winsor and Newton, and then the other ones, I think the blobby ones, these are the cheapy ones that I wanted to kind of push in there. So all these are cheap ones, but these are the ones that I mixed with the Winsor and Newton. So they've behaved themselves, but a tiny amount has gone a long way. And this palette will last me a while. In a colour book it will, because I'm using it very, very, very diluted, which isn't the traditional way, as I said. So I don't think some of these are Winsor Newton. They're a mixture, but I will be putting my professional ones together. So I want a mint green, and I found a mint green by using phthalo green. And again, this is the cheap one. I'm going to put my little wet thing on there. So this is phthalo green. Oops, no, it's not. It's Viridian, is that? but Viridian Green's okay, and I think I put Cerulean Blue or a very light pale blue to it. And I think that made a mint, or it made a turquoise colour. So that's a turquoise green. Some more blue, and again, this, as I say, this is the cheapy blue. This isn't my blue. It's just a cheap gouache blue. So now I've got a turquoise. So I need to add almost like a cad yellow, a warm yellow to that. That's made a pea green again, so I need that strange. So I'm going to start at that end, see if I can get near it. That's it. So it's the pale blue into a normal green that gives you that kind, and if you make that with whiter, you get mint, a minty colour. Just not sure if that's the right the right colour. Just so it's always good to have a play about and see. So if I water that down to how I like milk, because that's what I'm working with, and we'll try it on our tester corner. And it's not right, but by accident I've actually got the next one that I wanted by accident. So I'm going to take a touch of that and put it up here. And that's, it has made a mint. It's made a mint colour. Sometimes you have to play quite a while, because if you go too far, if you've used the wrong yellow, you've got to start again. So it's not easy, but it's always a lot better if you've only got two. If you've only got two colours to play with, it's sometimes a bit easier. So has anybody got any questions? And again, when you run out of space, you just turn around and you go again. So if you were doing this, you'd run out of space. So you want a mixer one to get a good idea, and then a tester. So I think I need some white in that one. Just can't seem to get it right, so I'm not quite sure what I'm doing wrong. But greens have a mind of their own. I think I just need a touch of that in there. And of course, you don't have to be exact if you don't want to be. It's fine. I think that's it. So again, I've got to be a bit careful because I want to take all that out. So I've just barely got the tiniest bit. You can see, look, you can get a bubble out. If you can see there, there is colour in this brush that I don't really want on there. And I didn't make that one, I made this one. So I'm going to colour him in, because this is the colour for him. It's kind of a muted mint colour. But if you don't like the colour, the beauty of gouache is once it's dried, you can go back. You can go back again. And all his, it doesn't seem to have, I think that's kind of very well drawn, that bit. Again, sometimes I find that with drawings. This is slightly wetter than I would like, but there's a lot of colour in here, so I was kind of not wasting it. So he's finished. What's like magic, Kenny? Sorry, it's like magic. It's like having a perpetual marker in your hand. And when I mean perpetual, I mean there's tons more colour. It doesn't touch your back of your page at all. There's a tiniest little dip there, but that will dry out. But that's because I went back over it twice. But if you go over it with a dry brush, like before, it's as flat as anything, so it's wonderful. We've got our green leaf behind, we've got our caterpillar, and he's very similar, but just a tiny bit. So what you can do now is I've got this colour, I can add a bit of this to it. So it's nearly the same colour, but not quite. So all I've done is add a little bit of that colour to the original colour, and I've changed it. But it's connected. Hi, darling. And I think he's a bit, now I know he is going to be a little bit more, and that was probably too much, but we'll have a go. By adding orange, you get olive colours. No idea, is he not in there? He must be outside then. Just bear with me 2 seconds, we've lost Alfie. Sorry about that. Alfie's in trouble even though he's not even here. Oh dear, it's all right. Yes, don't panic. She's got my other daughter's come home from she cleans buses. Bless her, she's been doing it since 9 this morning. That's her little job. She's been doing it since she was at school, and she's come home and said, "Where's Alfie?" Because Alfie's her baby, and my other daughter took him down the garden and didn't tell me. So all I've done is added a touch of this, and again, it's a cheap one. It's an orangey red. It's identical. It's an orange, but it's a reddy orange. I would say that's tangerine, and that one's a reddy orange. As orange as you could get, while still being a red, if that makes sense. So I put a touch into that colour, that mint colour, and it's given me that colour, which is exactly the right colour for what we want. So now so again, I've used the same colour but just touched it. So all this has got a connection. All these are going to be connected. So this little fat caterpillar here is, and I've still got the colour on here. It might have dried a bit because we had a bit of a panic moment. Gosh. Oh dear dear. So yeah, I'm going to start all over again now. So I'm going to clean that and then wet that And just make sure you don't have a dribble underneath, otherwise, and just test you're in the same kind of. No, it's watered down a bit. Just need it a little bit. It just needs that touch, and that's what it does. You can just keep going with the greens. They don't look very green though, but they are. You just keep going and going and going until you get it kind of spot on. And what's happened is, what I've actually done is I've gone past that caterpillar and matched that caterpillar. So the whole of this caterpillar, apart from his fronds across, is the palest version of this one, if that made sense. So I now need to colour this one in this. So he's going to be this colour. And his belly's white, but I'm going to do him an off-white colour because I need to do him a colour to get rid of. It's just a little bit too wet for me, but I'm sure I'll just about get away with it. And because it's gouache, if you did watercolour, the second it touched the next one, it would leave a line, but because it's gouache, it doesn't do that, so it's magic. And there is a little bit of variation of, obviously, shadow and light on here, so all I'm doing is putting a first flat colour down. I'm not playing with watercolours and building it up, I'm just putting a flat colour down, because I quite like the idea of doing that. But this was a play because this is very thin paper. It's nice, but it's extremely thin. But I was hoping it would work, and it behaves itself because it's just like having a wet marker. That's the dampness you want to aim for. The same as a wet marker going on here, and it feels like you've got a marker. But I couldn't play with pen tops on and off, and markers are very hard, and it's that connection between the marker pen and your finger that hurts. But if you do this with a brush, all the stress and the can't think of the word, but I used to know what it is, the bounce, the pressure you're pushing down on, all disappears in the bounce of the brush. That's what I'm trying to say. He's even got a green face as our little man here. And if you think your brush is getting a little bit dry, you can manipulate a little bit more colour out. And again, I should have made a tiny bit more, but I just wanted a flat colour. So he's now a green. Hi Jennifer, hi Lynn, anybody else popping in? Welcome to Bunny's Designs. Melody, anybody else popping in? Oh sorry, what have I missed? Oh, he's... Okay then. Oh, I can just kind of plod on then. If that's okay with everybody, that would be wonderful. Oh, I do hope everything's okay. It's always difficult streaming live. It's never easy. There's always something. So I'm nearly there, but this is a slightly bit dark. If you can see this one, it's slightly darker than this one. So I'd taken that a step further. So now I can take it a step back and get this darker. This is the darkest caterpillar, this one. And then that probably will take me to this one up here. So we'll get both our caterpillars. And what I might do, I can't turn that particular one over because it's got my address on it, but you can see mixing colours again now. So thanks Kenny, thank you. So we've got our kind of phthalo green, and again, I don't normally like phthalo green, but I found that if you mix it with a very light blue, sky blue, cerulean blue, you get turquoise. And I didn't know that. Oh, yes, of course, yes, of course. Um, so although we want it turquoise, we then need to take it back to an olive. So it's an olive turquoise colour, which is a very strange colour. So I'm going to put that really rich, um, it's almost a tangerine colour. It's not, that's cadmium yellow and it's stronger. So it's halfway again. Now that's gone very, very olive. So that's how you get your olive colours, which I love for my leaves. That would be a fantastic colour for leaves, but we can go back to it. So I'm just going to mix some more of that turquoisey in there. Not all of it, because we might go too far. And I quite like that, but it's not minty enough. Again, and the minty colour is the pale blue. Now there is a lot of colour on there, so, and it can take longer and longer. Now I've got more of a teal colour now, so I've got to go back. I'm probably going to put just an ordinary bit of green in there, I think, because that's got some yellow in it. And it's all to do with what's in what green and blue makes the green. It's almost like rocket science. It is chemistry. It is a chemistry. So if I put that there, that makes it a little bit oliver colour. But it's this blue here. Now if I'd have probably made it out of there, it would have been better. It's the pale blue. So we're getting there. That's not far away. So I'm going to do a test. Just a little tiny bit. And we'll just put it next to it. And it's still a little bit minty. So I can mix that in there. And remember, these are Victorian colours. So we have a lot more colours than had then. They had a lot more dangerous colours than we have now. There are a lot of colours that are banned, pigments that are banned, and we are not allowed them anymore. So although we have some good things in one way, it's always going to be difficult mixing with different pigments, and basically that's what we're doing. They wouldn't have had the pigments we have now, and we haven't got the pigments they had because we're not allowed. They're dangerous. Most artists that mixed their own colours were crackers. They had lung problems and they went balmy. Like the Mad Hatters, the glue that they used for the hats made them crackers. And so we're not nuts for no reason at all. So I'd say I'm actually gonna put a touch of lighter one in there just to take the olive away, because I don't want it too olivey. I just want it a bit olivey. Uh, Now that's made it a two. You see, it's the red in the yellow that is making the colour. If you have a bright yellow, it's the wrong yellow. You need a touch of that red. It's a combination. And that green has got the wrong blue in it. That bright green that I used has the wrong blue. Now we're getting there. As I say, you don't have to do this. But it's good fun, and it means once you can do this, you can do it with anything. So I'm mixing a bright green, and remember on the colour wheel, a bright green is the pale blue and the pale yellow. But because we need it a little bit olivey, we need an olive colour has got red in it, and a red yellow is an orange. So if you mix an orange with a blue, you'll get some really nice olive colours. So although we want it olivey, we also want that teal, which is this, and I don't know how to make a viridian. So again, you've got to play with your colours. So if you add one yellow, you get one green. If you mix another yellow, you get another green. And that's the name of the game. And then you've got to think about adding white if you are taking the shade a little bit different. So there's lots of things to take into consideration. Because eventually, with a touch of white, and that's far too much, pop it over there. If you don't get anywhere with hue, try your tone. And you can play with the tone, and if you're going the wrong way, you know it's the wrong colour, so go back. And as I say, the trick for this is that light, very light blue, because it's the turquoisey bit we need to get back, and that is cerulean blue, that's sky blue, very very cold pale blue. And if you're using sky blue, it's probably got white in it, so it's cerulean blue with white. That is probably the key. And so we need to put a little bit more. And sometimes you just think, I'll start again. If you lose it, it's probably easier to start again, because you go round and round in circles. But it's good fun, and you learn all these beautiful greens. So that's quite nice. So it's not really put to waste, even though it takes the time. And somewhere in there is the colour that I want. The trick is not to panic, and the trick is not to go too far with any particular colour. Otherwise you get completely lost and you have to start again. Just want a touch of more blue in that. Just a touch more blue. And I would think that's almost there now. It took its time, but we got there. So clean the brush, mix that to the consistency we want. And that is just a bit too wet, so really take everything off the brush, and then that means that you've just got it at the end there. And he's got some quite nice markings, and again I love the fact that this is all going to be connected because it's the same tone, which means it's got the same consistency. You haven't got a thick colour and a wishy-washy colour. I need to go back on to the back of him, because again he's got hairs and he's got lines on him that are not drawn in the colour book, but they're on the reference colour page. So I'm trying to keep that a little bit drier so it's as I say, just like a marker, the minute it's gone on, it dries, and it dries flat. And again, that's very quick. Oops. Very quick. Now, they haven't coloured the leaf in behind, but I'm quite tempted to colour that leaf. We'll see when we get all our little caterpillars. Because they're on a cream background. Don't quite fancy doing a full page on this particular paper. So gouache is quite forgiving, and it seems to go on anything, because that, again, that's what it's designed to do. Whereas watercolours needs water to absorb into a page. Gouache doesn't need that. Gouache is well behaved, but I'd forgotten just how nice it is. So I'll just push that up there a little bit. And I'll just put that over there, because otherwise, oopsie. So you can see mine, and you can see that one. Thank you, Claudia. Thank you. I'm getting my mojo back. It's taken its time, but so if you can see, they're not the darkest shades, but they are the palest shades. And I, even with gouache, build up the colours dark to light. So there's some very light colours here, which is the lightest colour, and then the palest colour here. And you can barely see that pink, but it is there. And then of course we've got that little dark one to go here. And he is kind of a tealy. He's in between this one and this one, with that kind of turquoisey teal colour. So we'll colour him in, and they don't have anything else on theirs, but I think I might have a go and put something in. I'll see how we've gone. Oh, we've got an hour and 15. I may stop this. I've just finished this little man. I'd say this little man. This little man here. We'll call him Fred. I've finished Fred. And then I could do some other colouring, or maybe go do some colouring with the artisan, because you can see more colour better with these. Gouache and watercolour is always a bit difficult to do. So if you let me know what you want me to do, so we'll do this little man here, and again I'll try and squish over so I can bring out my palette, which has got some quite nice colours on it. You put it on a white background. So I think I might start again with this one, because I know what I want. I want that that viridian, which is very, very vivid. And a cerulean blue, and I would think that and I'm going to actually go over where that grey was, because it was very, very, so that's kind of like a cerulean blue, and that's viridian, and if we mix them together, this is where you get your turquoises and your teals and your, so that's, I would say that's a turquoise, that's viridian green, and that's a turquoise, and then that's a turquoise blue, so it's taken it right back to its blue from green. So I'd say that's a blue turquoise, so that's always like phthalo green, and that's phthalo blue. That's basically what we've made with viridian and pale blue. And when I say pale blue, I mean cerulean blue. So I'm going to take it back into the middle again and give that a good mix. Now that's quite thick. It's quite thick, as you see, it's going on the page quite thick. That wouldn't be nice for a colour page, really. We need to water it down a bit. And that's too blue, so eventually we'll get where we want to be. That's very similar, because if you look at that, actually it is a blue. So I'm going to put that brush down. I'm going to take the fine brush, dampen it, and I'm going to use that very pale phthalo blue that I've made, and I'm going to go down the stripes. I can always go darker later if I want to, and he does have one there as well, and oops, that one, and then he has a stripe. In fact, he has two stripes, but they haven't put them in. So I'm hoping that my art is going to come back a bit better than it was. And so I've got some more colour pages to do. I have a Victorian glass cabinet which I am going to do a line drawing from. So it looks quite teal, but it is quite teal, and then we're going to put it next to this greeny colour, and I think it's definitely got that olive bit in it here. It's definitely got that bit of olive in it. Yeah, just off. But again, it's the same colour with another colour added, so it's connected. So the page will always look quite nice because it's got a connection. All the colours come out the same. And if you've made everything from primary colours, it looks even nicer because it's all connected. And he hasn't got any white bits, he's just a little green caterpillar. And he does need darkening up, as I say. There are some little dark, all the little crevices, obviously, because he's a creased caterpillar. He's going to have some shadowy bits. So I'm just going to clean the brushes and I don't forget. And I'll pan out and you can see that we've coloured the caterpillars. Now mine look, as I say, fairly pale because I've gone for the lightest. Now you can go over with gouache. You can put white over gouache. White gouache goes over everything, so we know you can go light to dark. It's just I prefer to do it that way. So thank you for watching part 1 of gouache in the Beauties of Nature colouring book. Thank you for watching.